So Monk looked in my eyes, and I've never had any person again in my life look like he saw so much in my eyes. It was unbelievable. So he asked me after the concert if I could come with Nelly, that was his wife, and him to the, because he wanted to know more about European music. So the first question he had to me was like, who is copying me here in this country? You see, I thought, okay, I know all those copycats here, and so I was not mad with them, but I didn't think so much of them. But he wanted to know, because he said, the more people copy my music, the more fans I'm going to have.
Non è opera maggiore quella che ci tocca. Appartiene anche al silenzio ogni gesto. Di una sequenza come una melodia, anche apparteniamo. Musica senza evoluzione, come una parola scarna. Solo alla bellezza appartiene quel gesto che sbirciamo di nascosto. E se io penso ogni rifiuto, per prova sottile, vendetta a rendere, nella penombra io sono come piccola dimenticata stupefazione. Diciamoci ancora la cosa che piace al senso. Una terribile visione di chiarezza. Come ben sai, non ti servirà. Ed anche il rifiuto perde conoscenza. Un elemento piccolo ma non triste venga adesso. Ci siamo esatti, persi, le parole, piatto, debolezza, costume semplice, e prende intatto come dovere ogni conoscenza di fatto eterna. Ed ancora ci perderemo, e tu sarai una lenta cantilena di pace, attenuata con una grande lingua dolcezza.
I'm Hollis Taylor. I'm from Portland, Oregon originally.
My name is Klaus Kürvers. I grew up in Essen. It's in the Ruhrgebiet.
Okay, my name is Gunter Hampel. Gunter Hampel. I'm born in Germany, in Göttingen, 1936.
My name is Axel Dörner. I'm from Cologne.
I'm Dave Burrell. I'm a jazz pianist. I'm originally from Middletown, Ohio. That's between Dayton and Cincinnati.
My name is Assi Glöde. I'm organizing improvisation music and jazz since over 35 years.
My name is Frank Paul Schubert. I'm a saxophone player. I'm living in Berlin. I'm from the western part of Germany, near Cologne.
My name is Andreas Pichler. I'm a drummer. I'm originally from Austria, from Innsbruck.
My name is Meinrad Kneer. I come from a little village in South Germany. Nobody knows that, so it's not worth mentioning it.
Gunter, hey, it's a privilege to meet you.
This is how you look. Come in.
Yes,
all the
yes.
painters, all the writers. I mean, all big people have been here in Berlin. When I sit here, like I can talk here because the spirits are here, right? When I'm in my little town in Göttingen, I have a hard time to find my spirit. But here, I used to play on the street because we didn't have no money in New York. And one day we played, there came all these kids, 15, 16, they came up with their ghetto blasters and wanted to use that spot where we were. And so they looked at our music and we didn't stop because we didn't have enough money yet, so we needed some more cash. So we kept on going. And so they got, they wanted to take the place, but they were so shy, not pushing us away or something. So they started then to move to our improvised music. When I started to know about jazz, I was about 8 years old. So World War II was just over, was not even over, was still going on. And my hometown, I'm from Göttingen, was conquered by American soldiers. And on our backyard, my father was a roof maker, so we had a little backyard for all our gears, was occupied by GIs coming there with their trucks. And I was running around, not like today, people with a guitar. I had an accordion with me, 8 years old. And so I was playing my folk tunes or whatever I could. And there happened something in my life which had never happened before. When I passed by this black GI making a fire and cooking him some food, he grabbed his guitar and started to jam with me on my folk tunes, because those folk tunes I played were so simple and were almost like those folk tunes you have in the United States, because all our European tradition has been moved to the United States. So I had my first jam when I was 8 years old. I listened to the AFN, that was the American Forces Network radio, and the first thing I really was aware about was Louis Armstrong, because that man was singing to me like no one ever had been singing. We were talking about church songs before we turned on the camera, but the essence of what Louis Armstrong was giving me, was handing me there, in giving me his songs, his music, was hope for me. There was hope and glory, and that terrible war. If I tell you my experiences of this war, you wouldn't believe it, but we don't want to go into that now. But this is the way like I would turn onto jazz, because I had been experienced nothing but war in my life. Being 8 years old, I thought the whole world was on war, on fire. So when I heard Louis Armstrong, there was, because I'm a musician, my father was a piano player and roof maker to make his money. But I heard something in there which I had never heard before, and so he turned me on. Louis Armstrong turned me on. I couldn't have gotten a better person to turn me on than Louis, And from that moment on, I felt that there was something which I want to go along to. This is how my life really started, when I was turned on to jazz music. Yeah. So that's my early start. Have to be more personal, more to develop our own, but also the teamwork to get, because that was Duke Ellington, that was Charlie Parker, all these guys, Monk. I've met Monk, I've met a lot of people in my life, and I learned from them how you just be yourself. A concert in New York which was called The History of Jazz. So the concert was starting, New York, all famous musicians with Dixieland and swing, and went all through the styles. And I and Perry Robinson, who was in my band at that time, we were invited to join this. This was in one of those churches in New York. And so when they played Dixieland, we didn't wait when the free jazz was on. We played with those Dixieland players. And they were all saying, hey, I thought these guys were free jazz musicians, they cannot play. Yeah? You know, stupid stuff. Clarinets, hey, we played Dixieland and swing and all. And then when we came more and more to the modern times, then a lot of these people stopped playing. But there was this trombone player, was a very old man, old black man. He kept on playing. His name was J.C. Higginbotham. He played with Louis Armstrong and all stuff. And then when we played the free part, he couldn't stand anymore, so he was sitting on the chair. He was getting off there. And then he said, when you call this free jazz, I've played this all my life, he said. Okay? So that is the real message of jazz, you know, that freedom. When I was going out on the streets in the night at 2 o'clock in New York to go to the river, because when I have my head full and I've been working all day like in an office in my house, I go take a bike ride, get fresh air, because there's coming the fresh air from the sea is coming into the city, and there all the people are dancing and walking and all this stuff, and they were doing just, I mean they were doing more jazz live than you could hear from those jazz musicians playing in the clubs. I mean it was so that hip hop, what was going on there was action. It was really very good.
Of a foreign musician coming to Berlin is more or less say the same like the situation of a Berliner who was living here for a long time because of this history of the city.
I have been on tour in Europe for the last 2 weeks. Prior to going on tour, right now, this was the 18th of February 2012.
Everybody is a stranger in this place, and everything has to be think over. There are always possibilities to do it in another way.
And on January 30th, before that, I had the opportunity to play with the great percussionist Han Benink from Holland.
In other cities, you have families living there for the last 500 years, and they knew very exactly what to do and how to do what. And here in Berlin, nothing is. Everything can be done in another way.
On this tour, I was fortunate enough to do duets with Silke Eberhard, who is from Berlin.
now we have in Berlin a very creative, not a scene, this is a couple of different scenes which were not closed. They were in connections, and this started in the mid of the 90s that musicians from all over the world are coming to Berlin. And even this process is came not to an end. This is still developing every week. Somebody is coming here to Berlin, and everybody has his own connections to the places they are coming from. We have a lot of Australian musicians from Canada, from Asian countries. This process started in the mid of the 90s, and the first reason was that Berlin was a really big city with these two different kinds of history, and it was a cheap place. Here it was possible to find a room to stay. And also we had a lot of space here in the city not used any longer, so a lot of small venues. It was very easy to establish a venue where you can play, and musicians could do it by their own. They were not depending on some producers or some pub owners who invited them. They could make their life by their own, and they could find places and establish places where they could play and try out new things. These musicians coming here are coming from very different backgrounds. They are not only jazz musicians interested in developing of a new jazz, and there are other musicians who never played jazz. They came from an improvising tradition in European music and contemporary music. There are also musicians coming from traditional music, and they are interested in connecting their background. And this is a very good model for the necessities our society needs now. The world came so close together. More and more mankind is used to work together, but the thing is to find a way to work together without letting one's own cultural background be behind you. We need a way to work together with all the richness, the cultural richness we have as experience, and bring this experience into a creative process. You can do it with music, but more and more we are doing it in every section of everyday life.
Started from Sydney and went south and right around the continent and then up north, just really circled. And we looked essentially at two of the iconic fences, the rabbit-proof fence, which goes from north to south in the west of Australia, and also the dingo fence, or the dog fence, which is sort of a north to south, but also east to west in direction. And the longest man-made artifact in the world. It's twice as long as the Great Wall of China.
Hollis and I, my partner and I, we've made a number of trips around the country playing the fences. I think it was a total of 40,000 kilometres in 4 or 5 years.
It sounds way out, or somebody that just likes swing or just likes bluegrass. To say, oh, we play the fence, that sounds like a really such a far out thing to do.
Basically getting an audiovisual map of the country through the fences. It brings you in direct contact with really the real people of Australia.
In the field one day, and I heard 3 birds in 3 different trees singing a trio. The phrasing seemed to be so related to jazz, the rhythms, the sort of ending things on the offbeat, ba-da-da, you know, sort of very hip, a lot of the rhythms. I'm trying to get to the bottom of how they change their material from year to year, and I'm trying to follow little phrases and little motifs and fragments that the neighbor has that maybe they rework in a different way, or that next year it will be different. Every mature bird sings its own set of phrases. There might be some overlap with the neighbor, or there might be none. They sing long songs in the spring, from 1 to 6 hours in length, and these are nocturnal songs almost always, so they could start at 12:30 or 1 a.m. and sing until the dawn chorus at 6:30. They also sing group songs, and these they do mainly in the autumn. So I go and record them in the autumn as well. And this could be duos, trios, quartets, quintets. And they also mimic. So they will put together what appears to be really improvised long sections, 12, 15 minutes, non-stop, of all the kinds of sounds that they hear, that the sound of a horse doing a whinny, a mobile or cell phone ringtone, a car alarm, a dog barking, you name it, they've got it in their mimicry cycle. And it finally dawned on me one day, because music for me is much more about dance than song. And that's why I like to put rhythm in the bow. That's why I liked the earlier music, or the Baroque music, which was based on the dance rhythms, and Bartok, of course.
So just wherever you're...
Is that for the guests or is that for us? That's probably for the guests.
All for the guests. We already drank their wine.
We drank their wine. Nee, je tas is in mijn kamer. Ik heb het opgeborgen, zodat ik heb het voor de... Ik kom eraan.
Nee, dat hoeft niet.
Ja.
I'm Tobias Delius. I play the tenor sax and the clarinet.
Hi, my name is Ernst Klerum. I'm a double bass player in the Instant Composer Orchestra.
My name is Michael Moore. I play the alto saxophone and the clarinet in ICT.
Mary Oliver. I play violin and viola.
My name is Ab Baas. I play tenor saxophone, clarinet, I'm a trombone player called Walter Wierbos, and I live in Amsterdam since 1980.
Is it running?
It's running.
Okay, fine. My name is Han Benink. I'm supposed to play the drums.
And it's going, it's doing its thing now? Oh, okay. My name is Susanna van Cannon.
And I was born in England.
I live in Amsterdam for over 35 years now.
And I'm from Arcata, California.
And I'm originally from San Diego, California, but I live in Amsterdam.
I was born in 1942 in Zaandam, and that's in the Netherlands. So I'm from there.
Oh, where am I from? Oh, I'm from North Carolina, but with a long, convoluted way, I landed in Amsterdam, and I've been here for quite a while.
Yeah, when I joined the group, that was in 1980. That's a long time ago, so I'm a real veteran.
I think I started in 38. Then I was 3 years old.
And I'm the manager of the ICP orchestra, which is an oxymoron because they are unmanageable.
Yeah, when I joined the group, that was in 1980. That's a long time ago, so I'm a real veteran. Now it's almost 33 years, 32 next May. So, and I never forget, like, one of the first concerts we had was like outside Amsterdam. We also had a couple in Amsterdam, I think in the Bimhuis, a very old Bimhuis, and the Melkweg, that's like a pop stage. And then we went to Tilburg. And at that time, I didn't live in Amsterdam in 1980. I moved like a couple of months later. So I had to go by train from Groningen, which is like in the north of the Netherlands, to Amsterdam, and then I should meet Misha at his house, and Misha was one of the drivers of one of the cars, because there were 10 members in the group, and there were some cars going to Tilburg. So I was scheduled being in Misha's car with, I remember, Larry Fishkind and Kessie van Maslak. So the three of us, we gathered there at his house, at the steps of his house, and I was first, and I rang the bell, no answer. I thought, oh yeah, maybe Misha's out, or yeah, he will be back in a couple of minutes. Now, in the meantime, Larry was coming with his big tuba and Kessie van, and they said, oh yeah, Misha is he's always very lazy, blah blah blah. Let's ring the bell again. Brrrt, we ring the bell, nothing. No, and we thought, like, yeah, what can we do? Wait, just wait. No, like, and then like 15 minutes later, we thought, like, no, he should be back now. Like, I was already waiting an hour, something like that, outside. No Misha. So we tried to ring the bell again, and then the door opened. Misha, he was in his house. He said, yeah, oh yeah, sorry, yeah, I just woke up. And it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. At that time I didn't realize that his day and night rhythm was completely swapped. Like, you know, he lived from 4 or 5 in the afternoon till the next day in the early mornings. But it was a kind of weird, you know. We had this appointment at his house, and there was no Misha. One of my first gigs, so I thought, what is this? So fine, and then Misha said, he invited us in his house, like, yeah, come in, I'll make some breakfast for me. So and he had to shower and everything. But it was like late already. I thought like, shit, we have to go to the gig in Tilburg, which was at that time like a 2-hour drive. Like, oh, we will be certainly too late. And Misha didn't worry. He said, oh, relax. Who wants a cup of coffee? He had done his shower program. Now that was another half an hour later, and we were thinking like, shit, what's happening? And then he said, yeah, I'm gonna make some breakfast for myself. You want also something? Yeah, we said, Misha, we have to go to the gig. Yeah, okay. So finally we got on the road, and it was like just half an hour before the concert was supposed to start. You know, like, so we were sitting there in the car, and I thought like, oh, what is this? What is this? What's happening now? And suddenly on the highway I thought like, yeah, now it's about time that we start. So Misha was counting off 1, 2, 3, 4. Burp. Okay, start. Of course we were not there. So we arrived in Tilburg much too late, I think 1 or even 2 hours later than scheduled, and the room was packed, and I remember Han was like with a purple head and completely very stressed up, like, because Misha was again very too late. And the rest was of course there, drinking, and the audience was there, and they loved it. And it was like such a heavy concert. That was, I think, my 2nd or 3rd concert with ICP, and I will never forget it. And there were also like Keshevan and Sean Bergen was in the band. They were literally fighting on stage, like kicking each other. And the audience thought it was like a part of the band, or. So that was my first experience with ICP in the 80s when I joined the band, and I thought like, wow, what is this? That's pretty wild. But and since then, of course, I know the perspective, everything is in there. But you know, I was just a young kid from the province. I didn't know shit, so I was immediately in the heart of everything. Oh, that's a little or a long anecdote for whatever.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That story is about the 2 fat ladies walking in a lane in England, and they hear a voice like, help me, help me. And they were looking around, and it was a bit snowy, and still they heard that little voice, help me, help me. And finally they found under a fir tree, they found a tiny little green frog. And the frog said, help me, I'm bewitched. If you kiss me on my mouth, it will be all over, and I will be a drummer, and I can play concerts all over the world for you, and I can make you rich. Any style you want. So the less fat lady looked to the other one and said, please kiss him on his mouth. And we're going to be rich. We have no financial problems anymore in this time. Going to be fine. And we have a guy with us, a drummer. The bigger lady looked at her very, very angry. And she said, you are dumb, aren't you? You can't have much and much and much more money with a talking frog than with a jazz drummer. Thank you.
It's true. You're only correct.
Okay. It's a very old English joke I heard once from Chris Lawrence, a bass player. And I used to tell it also after or during a solo concert. Like, yeah. So you work to people, you wipe them up and these things. By the way, do you know this joke? And yeah. So it's sort of it works like a counterpoint for me, and that's what I really want. That's also, for example, when I lay on the floor or sit on the floor and try it, you change the acoustics. People are not looking to a guy with a red hat behind the drum kit, and well, you sit simply on the floor and there's nothing anymore. So it's also by that. It's theatrical effect. It has all sorts of meanings. That's why I do that.
I usually find it difficult to talk about ICP because I think ICP is a group that's hard to describe in words, to tell what's happening, who's doing what, and so I prefer telling a little anecdote that was very important to me. One of the very first concerts with the ICP, for me, I think it was 85 or 84, we had a concert somewhere in Holland, a small village, and we played Reflections. Misha had made an arrangement of Thelonious Monk's Reflections, and he asked me to play a solo, and I played a solo following the chord structure. And afterwards he comes to me and says, listen, you don't have to play it that way. And I didn't understand what he was saying. He said, no, you don't have to play it that way. You can open it up, and that was a very important moment, because I started realizing that it's very important to tell your own story, whatever the situation is. And at that time I thought, well, I play a traditional piece that has a chord structure. Let's play sticking to the chord structure. And when I played an open piece, I would play differently. And that made me aware that it's possible to play freely within a certain structure. And that helped me a lot, and I was able to develop my own voice by this little meeting with Misha.
The first tour I went on with ICP was quite exciting for me, of course, because that was the group that I wanted to play with the most. Anyway, we're on stage and this was in Le Mans, France, festival there, and I'm standing next to Misha, so I generally make sure that he's got his set list going and he's got that he knows what's going on. So we were going to play a piece of his called Waar Bleef Je? So I get my music ready and set it up, and then I goes, hey Misha, Waar Bleef Je? And he says, Art Blakey? And that happens a lot with him, where he hears a word and makes something else completely for that. So it's the standing joke. So when we play Waar Bleef Je, we say Art Blakey, and then he'll say Waar Bleef Je? So it keeps going on and on with him.
I joined ICP in 1982, and one of the first things we did was go to Japan. The other saxophone players in the group at the time were Peter Broltzmann and Keshavan Maslik. And it was a tour set up by Toshinori Kondo, and he spent about a year organizing this tour. It was very well done, and we had a great time. And, you know, a lot of things happened. Some people got sick, but nobody died. I realized a lot of things about Misha real quick. I realized that he likes to create tension however possible. That could be through musical means or social means or theatrical means. He likes to put people together that don't necessarily like each other, for instance. I learned a certain aesthetic, and it's kind of a rigorous aesthetic, although at the same time anything can happen. So it's very, very open and very free. It's not, what we do here is not dogmatic in any way. Although there are things that are good and there are things that are bad. So in a sense it completely ruined me for a lot of other musical situations.
So it's actually interesting to because we still play as a group, then to test this material, what is really like, well, but this is a bit outdated, or it's not outdated, or the ideas or the approach of the music. That would be especially about the founders, Misha and Han, because they are, in the 60s, they had their thing, I suppose. I'm listening to old stuff, what they did in the Misha Mengelberg quartet with the late Piet Noordijk as an alto player. Man, that's incredible. You really hear they're like on the brink of changing or putting different stuff in, put the out stuff in. But it is like also a very traditional 50s style quartet. Very inspiring, very good playing of Misha, very sharp, very fresh and new ideas. For me, very inspiring to hear. Also the whole approach. And then Misha writes his own pieces, totally different pieces. European flavor pieces maybe, kind of marches or waltzes or cozy radio tunes. Well, and there's actually, I must admit, with great pleasure and without any reluctance, he writes beautiful music and a beautiful arrangement. So to summarize, I'm having a great time doing this stuff.
Well, I played the piano from I think I started in 38. Then I was 3 years old. And I've through my childhood, I was improvising on the piano then. I did not like very much to get lessons. I started with lessons when we were already living in Amsterdam. And I did not like the idea of I like to play piano. That was my thing. And I could not have the lessons anymore after the year 43. Then the tram, the car, was not. I could not get to that.
Yeah, yeah.
It was. My teacher was unavailable. I did not have the possibility to take the lessons anymore. And after the war, I still didn't want to play pieces from other composers. And I was only interested in in improvisation. And that stopped somewhere when I was 15 years later, going to the to lessons, piano lessons, because it was I told people, piano was my first thing to be interested in. And then they were, well, then you play the piano, that's all right. And then I played the piano and had not the same need that I had for my improvisations in 42 and 3. All that was more or less a little bit forgotten, and also my piano playing. I played pieces that I had to play. That and that piece from Bach you should now play for us. You have had a choice to play the piano, so play the piano. Yeah. And then I had only interest in playing jazz music. So I didn't play Bach or Mozart or whatever, what composer. I played Mengelberg plays the piano. Well, that's more or less what I still do. Playing the piano in improvisation.
I'm Huub van Riel. I'm artistic director of the BIM House, where we are right now. The BIM House started in 1974 and I got involved in 1976. And the BIM House at the time was part of a bigger organization called Stichting Jazz in Nederland, Dutch Jazz Foundation. This would be a big story to explain and possibly not so interesting. From the origin of the BIM House, that was started by musicians in the mid-70s to have their own venue, but this was not limited to the music of the initiators, being very much from the, at that time, new music scene, including Misha Mengelberg, Willem Breuker, Willem van Manen, Arjen Gorter. The organization was started in cooperation with Musicians Association, BIM, Association for Improvising Musicians. That also included more mainstreamish musicians, bebop-based musicians. And from day one, the program was this brew of all sorts of jazz and contemporary improvised. So it's simply part of the history. We continue that to this day, including all sorts of the horror world music and other musics that are very hard to define. they all these musics have their own share in the music, and one of the things that I particularly like about the Bimhuis, and that follows from his history and how he dealt with it, is that for many, including more traditional players, the reputation is based not just on Dexter Gordon having played here and everybody else, but also being the home of the newest music in the field. And they very often, people who are in somewhat more traditional field want to be associated with this home of new music, which I think is a much better position for the new music than have to fight your way in this other place, dealing with all these definition problems of jazz and jazz audiences and the jazz world that can be pretty much in the way of the development of jazz, as we know. So it's I find that particularly interesting. People in marketing, so people working with us, there's also always this little bit of tension, like should we not label these concerts to make it easier for them to take the audience by the hand? You might be if you're interested in this. And I like the approach that is used everywhere these days. Like if you like this, you might like this, if it's dealt with in a smart way. But I don't like it applied, especially in this place, considering what we just spoke about, to like jazz or advanced jazz or contemporary or world music, this, that, and the other. So you have to find a balance to sort of say something about the music and find an audience without defining it too exactly and exclude everything else from who you approach with the information. Like this is for you, that's for you. That's horrible. And such a contradiction to the nature of what this place is about. The Bimhuis, to the purpose on this is the old docklands of Amsterdam, like in most old harbor towns.
We would like to welcome passengers who joined us at Antwerp Central Station on the Thalys train to Paris. If you move around on the train, don't forget to take your ticket with you.
Hello, my name is Roger.
My name is Giovanni Barcella.
I'm originally from Bruges. I studied almost medicine. I stopped in my 5th year.
I play the drums, and I come from Italy, from Bergamo.
Yeah, no. We invite interesting people from here, local, Ghent, but also of the whole of Belgium and abroad. The whole thing is, it's a bit like a research place. Probably the way to something is more important than the end result. The music has to be listened to, so we started a label after 5 years of having maybe 500 concerts in El Negocito. The label itself started more around, and we do every Monday a concert around a drummer called Giovanni Barcella. He's a inspirational and really nice musician, but also person. There's something that I really always enjoyed in music, and especially in jazz and improvised, is the story. It's not trying to copy somebody else's music or something.
I used to play the drums in the church. Yes, also in Italy, you have to play the drums in church. Big church celebration in Italy in the late 80s, and I play so loud in the church. All the priests hate me, you know. I try to play free in the church celebration. I start to study at Bergamo with a great maestro. His name now is dead. Giampiero Prina. He tell me about the melody in the drums.
You see, the critics had written in Downbeat and in other magazines that he doesn't play all the time. He gets off his piano and lets the other people play. But what Monk was doing was, Monk was getting off, I watched that in that concert, he was getting off from the piano and Frankie Dunlap was playing the drums. He was a dancer. Yeah, he was a real dancer. He played drums, but he was a dancer. And Monk, he went up from the piano and danced. And he was very voluminous at that time. It was like a bear dancing. But the musicians played with his moves, though he wasn't playing the piano.
Con una parola scarna. Solo alla bellezza appartiene quel gesto che sbirciamo di nascosto. E se io penso ogni rifiuto, per paura sottile, di vendetta a vendere, nella penombra io sono come piccola dimenticata stupefazione. Diciamoci ancora la cosa che piace al senso. Una terribile visione di chiarezza. Come ben sai, non ti servirà. Ed anche il rifiuto perde conoscenza. Un elemento piccolo ma non triste venga adesso. Ci siamo esatti, persi.